You feel it in the quiet, that ache you don't talk about, that shadow you carry like a second skin. You wake up hoping they thought of you. You check your phone like it might breathe their name. And still, nothing, because they let go, long ago, but your hands are still trembling from holding on. Maybe you tell yourself they'll come back, that they're just lost, confused, healing. Maybe you replay every word, every glance, every silence, trying to find the exact moment they stopped seeing you. But the truth isn't hiding in the details. The truth is, they already left, and your heart never got the memo. There's a pain in loving someone who no longer holds space for you. It's a grief that doesn't get a funeral, because they're still out there, living, laughing, just not with you. And yet, here you are, still whispering their name in the chambers of your soul, still building altars in your mind to the way things used to be, still waiting at a door that's been locked from the other side. You tell yourself it's love, but love doesn't starve you like this. Love doesn't leave you questioning your worth in the dark. This isn't devotion. It's quiet self-abandonment, a kind of spiritual bleeding you've learned to live with. But what if this pain isn't here to punish you? What if it's trying to awaken you, to show you not the depth of your attachment, but the depth of your own heart? Because anyone can be held, but only you can choose when to let go. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't about losing them. Maybe this is the beginning of finding you. Stay with that thought. Don't look away just yet, because beneath every ache, there's a quiet truth waiting to be heard. What if this grief you're carrying is actually the beginning of your own awakening? You didn't just love them. You built yourself around them. You bent your voice, your timing, your truth, just to fit the shape of their silence. You learned how to shrink in the right moments, laugh at the right jokes, and never ask for too much. Because somewhere deep down, you were terrified of being too much, too needy, too sensitive, too real. So you wore a smile like armor, said "I'm fine" like a mantra, and turned your ache into a secret performance for someone who had already left the theater. This is what no one talks about, how we become actors in a play that no longer has an audience. You weren't just holding on to a person. You were holding on to who you were when they still looked at you like you mattered. And when they stopped, you started vanishing, bit by bit. It's a quiet unraveling, one that doesn't make noise, but echoes through every moment of your day. You scroll past their face on a screen and feel your chest tighten. You pass by a song, a scent, a street, and grief climbs into your throat like a scream that forgot how to leave. But still, you smile. Still, you function. Still, you pretend. This is the prison no one sees, a glass room built from old memories and one-sided hope. You can look out and see life moving, but you're stuck in the moment they stopped loving you. And here's the hardest part. You knew. Long before the last message, long before the final ghosting silence, you knew they were already gone. But you didn't want to lose the story, the version of you that was still wanted, still chosen, still enough. Because if they let go, what does that make you? You were never just missing them. You were missing the version of yourself that felt seen. And so you stayed, not with them, but with a memory dressed as a maybe. But memories aren't mirrors, and the past can't hold you, no matter how tightly you grip it. This is the quiet war inside, trying to be loved by someone who isn't even looking, trying to prove your worth to a silence that doesn't answer back, trying to revive a feeling that died with a goodbye they never said out loud. So you keep performing, not for them anymore, but for the version of you who still believes you can win them back, if you're patient enough, quiet enough, perfect enough. But none of that brings them back. It just pulls you further away from yourself. This isn't love. It's self-erasure. It's the slow forgetting of your own soul in exchange for a hope that stopped breathing long ago. And here's the paradox. The more you try to become what they would love, the less you love yourself. You trade authenticity for approval. And in doing so, you reinforce the very fear that keeps you imprisoned, that you were never enough to begin with. But what if this prison wasn't built by them? What if you've been the one locking the door from the inside? What if the pain of losing them is actually the pain of losing your reflection in their eyes? Because when we tie our worth to someone else's gaze, we forget how to see ourselves. And when they look away, we stop existing. So here's the truth, raw and unfiltered. You don't need them to come back. You need to come back to yourself, not the version of you they once loved, but the you who existed long before them, the one who didn't have to perform, the one who didn't need to be chosen to feel real, the one who was always enough, even in the silence. Because freedom isn't them changing their mind, it's you changing your own. It's walking out of the theater, taking off the mask and saying, I'm done being the echo of a love that's already gone. Drop a comment like it's a letter you were never brave enough to send. Who are you still holding on to? Even though they let go long ago, write it out. This space is yours now. Some pain doesn't scream. It sits, quiet, patient. It molds you from the inside out, without ever asking permission. And this pain, the pain of still loving someone who's already gone, it carves you. Not in sudden wounds, but in slow, invisible lines, like a river shaping stone over lifetimes. You think you're just sad, but sadness doesn't do this. Sadness doesn't make you question your own reflection, doesn't make you rehearse conversations that never happen, doesn't make you feel like you're haunting your own life. This is deeper. This is grief. The kind no one honors because they're still alive. You lost someone who didn't die, and that kind of loss has no ritual, no closure, no flowers, just absence, and a heart that never got to say goodbye. And maybe that's what hurts the most. They walked away like it was nothing, while you're still bleeding like it was everything. But here's the truth that hurts before it heals. They weren't just someone you loved. They were someone you built meaning around. They were the soundtrack to your best memories, the imagined face in your future, the reason you softened when the world got hard. So when they let go, they didn't just leave your life. They tore a thread from the story you were telling yourself about who you are. Because when someone leaves without explanation, they don't just abandon you. They leave you to fill in the blanks. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Was I ever really loved? You start wearing their silence like a second skin. You make their absence your fault. And suddenly, the pain becomes part of your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone healing and start believing you're someone inherently unworthy of staying for. That's the wound, not just the leaving, but the way it rewrites who you believe you are. And here's where Buddhism whispers a deeper truth. Suffering isn't the enemy. Suffering is a messenger. It's not here to punish you. It's here to awaken something inside you. Every time you feel that ache, every time your chest tightens at their name, life is pointing you inward. Not to shrink, not to blame, but to remember. To remember the parts of you that existed before they were ever a name in your mouth. To remember that your worth was never born in their affection, so it cannot die in their rejection. Pain, in its rawest form, is honest. It strips away illusion, and what's left is you, unmasked, untouched by their absence, whole, even in your breaking. You see, most of us try to avoid the wound. We rush to numb it, fix it, rewrite it. But in truth, the wound is the doorway. It's the crack where the light gets in. It's the silence where your real voice waits. It's the burning that purifies every lie you believe to be love. So don't rush this. Don't silence the ache. Feel it. Let it echo. Because on the other side of that silence isn't just healing. It's truth. And maybe that's what this heartbreak came to teach you. Not just how to survive love lost, but how to reclaim the parts of you that you gave away too easily. You were never meant to break for someone who couldn't hold you. You were meant to rise from the pieces with softer eyes and a stronger spine. Because pain doesn't mean you're weak. Pain means something mattered. And surviving it means something in you was never theirs to destroy. So feel it all. Let it shape you. But don't confuse the pain of losing them with the lie that you lost yourself. You're still here. And maybe you're finally starting to come home. Letting go isn't forgetting. It isn't pretending it didn't hurt. It isn't waking up one day and magically not loving them anymore. Letting go is quieter than that. It's the moment you stop refreshing their profile. The moment you don't rearrange your soul just to be worthy in their absence. The moment you stop begging your own heart to keep bleeding just because once they held it gently, you thought letting go meant losing them again. But the truth is, you already lost them. What you're afraid of losing now is the last piece of the illusion. The fantasy that maybe, just maybe, they'll realize what they had and come running back. But love doesn't beg, and healing doesn't wait. There comes a moment, quiet, often unnoticed, when you stop hoping they'll knock and start unlocking yourself. This is what detachment really is. Not bitterness, not walls, but breathing without their weight on your chest. Choosing silence, not as a punishment, but as peace. Imagine it, your heart, not clenched like a fist around the past, but open, like hands releasing a bird too tired to fly back. Because every day you hold on to someone who's gone, you delay your own becoming. You stall your own story. You live in a paused frame while the world keeps spinning in full motion. And isn't it strange? You feared the pain of letting go, but it's the holding on that's been slowly suffocating you. Buddhism teaches not to cling, not because love isn't sacred, but because clinging turns love into possession, and possession into suffering. True love flows. It doesn't demand, it doesn't chain, it doesn't make your peace conditional on someone else's presence. To let go is not to unlove, it's to love in truth. To say, I release you, not because you were never important, but because I am too. You've spent so long trying to prove your worth to their memory. You forgot you already had worth before they ever said your name. And maybe now, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to no longer be a ghost in your own life. This is what freedom feels like. Not a loud declaration, but a soft, sacred return. A returning to your own breath, your own timing, your own name. Like untying the knot in your chest. Like dropping a bag you didn't realize was breaking your back. Like looking in the mirror and seeing someone real again. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be chosen by someone who's already gone is the moment you begin choosing yourself. And in that choice, you remember. You remember that love isn't a performance. You remember that peace doesn't need to be earned. You remember that walking alone is not the same as being unloved. And slowly, you stop measuring your value by who stayed. You stop apologizing for needing softness, consistency, truth. You stop rehearsing who you need to be to deserve love, and start becoming who you are when no one's watching. Because when you finally let go, you don't lose them again. You find you, the you that was buried beneath the waiting, the pleasing, the aching. And in that rediscovery, a deeper truth unfolds. The love you thought you needed from them was always meant to come from within. It was never about holding on to them. It was about learning how to hold yourself. There comes a moment when silence becomes sacred. Not the silence of being ignored, but the silence that follows when you finally stop chasing echoes. And maybe that's where you are now. Not healed, not over it, but done. With begging your own soul to shrink for someone else's comfort. There's a strange kind of peace that arrives when you stop fighting reality. When you stop rewriting the ending. When you finally sit with what is, instead of clinging to what could have been. Surrender isn't weakness, it's the quietest strength. It's laying down your weapons, not because you lost, but because you realized there was never a war worth fighting. Because what are you really fighting? Their absence, their silence, their choice to walk away? Or are you fighting the truth, that you are still worthy even without their love? This is the final turning, the shift from pain into presence, from craving into clarity, from being abandoned to being enough. You start to realize you don't need their apology to find peace. You don't need their return to feel whole. You don't need their love to validate your existence. You just need to stop abandoning yourself. Every time you looked for their name in a notification, you were asking, am I still enough? But the answer was never there. It was always here. In your breath, in your heartbeat, in the quiet knowing that you survived a love that didn't know how to stay. And now, you stay. For yourself. With yourself. That's the healing. Not erasing the past, but holding it gently. like an old photograph, a moment that mattered, a lesson that softened you. You don't need to hate them to move on. You don't need to forget. You just need to stop worshiping the version of yourself that only felt alive when they looked your way. Because now, you see yourself, fully, honestly, without the filter of their absence. You begin to forgive, not for them, but for the parts of you that begged, that broke, that believed you were only lovable when chosen. You forgive yourself for the waiting, for the stories, for the pretending. And in that forgiveness, something remarkable happens. You return, not to who you were before them, but to someone wiser, someone softer, someone who no longer chases love, but becomes it. You start waking up without looking for their name. You walk through familiar places without the ache. You hear their song and you breathe. Not because it doesn't hurt anymore, but because now the hurt has roots, and roots are where new life begins. So you walk forward, not away from the past, but with it resting peacefully behind you. And if the thought of them visits you some nights, let it. But don't chase it. Don't fold into it. Just nod and return to your breath. Because this moment, this quiet, present, unfiltered moment, is the only place you've ever truly belonged. No more fighting. No more performing. No more proving. Just you. Here. Now. Still enough. Still becoming. Still loved. Not because someone chose you, but because you chose to stay with the one person you were never supposed to abandon. Yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this heartbreak was always leading you to. Not the ending of a love story, but the beginning of your own return. So pause, breathe, and let this silence be the first sound of healing. And what if all you need now is to stop trying to hold on to what's already let go of you?